Hello, hello. Welcome for another episode of the Author Spotlight. Hey, it's the host with the motion, man, Darren M. Palmer. I'm so excited to be with you today with my man, Victor Antonio today. Before I have Vic come on in his own way, I just want to share a little bit about Victor. He had a poor upbringing from one of the roughest areas of Chicago. Didn't stop Victor from earning a BS electrical engineering and an MBA and building a 20-year career as a top sales executive and becoming president of global sales and marketing for a $420 million company. As vice president of international sales in a Fortune 500 $3 billion corporation at the time, he was selected over 500 sales managers to join the President's Advisory Council for excellence in sales and management. He has shared the stage with top business speakers, Rudy Giuliani, Paul, I'm not going to mess up Paul's name. Anybody know, just Google Intel CEO, John May, CEO of FedEx and Kinkos. He's authored. Now get this, for those who tune in who want to be authors. He's the author of 13 books on sales and motivation, and recently launched the Sales Mastery Academy, which I'm a huge fan of, learning platform with 300 plus videos. He recently published his new book, Sales, what is that, Vic? Ex Machina?
Yeah, that's close enough. Ex Machina, but somebody said Ex Machina. Doesn't matter.
Machina, okay, all right. How artificial intelligence is changing the world of selling. So I just want to welcome you on, Vic. Thanks so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be able to pour into our audience for the Author Spotlight.
Thank you for having me, man. Sorry for the long intro, man. I think you could shorten that baby up.
Yeah, I was, man, but I just want to give respect where respect is due. And speaking of that, if you don't mind, just share with our audience, before the 13 books, just going into your first book, just give us an idea of, how did you think that you could do a book when so many had failed at the task? Could you share that with us? I mean, of course, when you learn something, you get better with it at time. So how did you overcome that? It's one thing to be a sales guy. It's one thing to have success in corporate and even to be an entrepreneur. But what made you think, like, I can actually get this done when so many had failed at the task?
Well, it's funny because, my writing is horrible. You know what I mean? When I first, it's gotten better over the years. So if you're a speaker or a trainer, whatever, and you want to write a book and you're thinking my English isn't that good, or what, see what I mean? Welcome to the club. Mine isn't that great either. I'm that guy that struggled through high school. I was, always like C averages in English, scraping over a D, if you know what I mean, just stayed in the C zone. And a lot of it had to do because my family's from Puerto Rico. And so, we didn't learn English at home. My mother and father didn't have a formal education. They only had like a third grade or fifth grade education in Spanish, not English. And so I remember, I would put my adjectives after my nouns in Spanish. That's how you do it, but it's flipped in English. So I would have all these difficulties writing. And I didn't have a big vocabulary, a large lexicon. I didn't. And so like anything else, you start reading. When I put the first book together, it's called The Logic of Success. And the book, and that was 2000, I'm going to guess 2003. And that was a tough book to write because one of it was about me and my story. And that's always the hardest thing to do, is to talk about yourself. And second is, as I was writing it, I was like, in your mind, you're like, oh, I'm such a horrible writer. Does this make any sense to anybody? Is this too simple? And you know how you try to sound very intellectual, right? And what I realized is that, just sound like you. And then what I did, if I can jump ahead a little bit, I had somebody smooth it out for me. I hired a proofreader / editor, and they cleaned up all my stuff. And what I did was I gave them this already, you give them a Word document, and then you can track all the changes they made, approve or deny. And that's basically how I wrote my first book. So if you're struggling to write your first book and your first objection to yourself is, I'm not a great writer, welcome to the club. A lot of people aren't. You just become well doing a lot of writing.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for giving us that insight, because for those out there who are listening, don't get caught up on the 13 books and all the accolades. And don't get me wrong, they were earned, that's well deserved. But I want you to know that Victor Antonio started from somewhere. So you guys out there, whether you millennials, whether you baby boomers, I don't care if you Gen X, it doesn't matter. The key to it is just getting started, getting something done. Victor got something done, accomplished that great feat, and he was able to move on and set new goals and set new targets. Now, speaking of new targets, if you don't mind, Victor, please share with us, how did you transition from some people would have held on to corporate and just would have waited on the gold watch and the little plaque at the end and, had the nice little dinner and they pat you on the head and say, great job. So what made you, when you seem like you had the ideal position for most people, what made you say, hey, I'm going to jump out on a cliff and do this wacky thing and go into being in business on my own instead of for a corporation?
So, there's a movie online. It's on YouTube. It's called The Motivator. So if you type in The Motivator and Victor Antonio, you'll find it. And it tells the full story of why I left corporate America. But here's a short version. So I wound up getting an electrical engineering degree, a bachelor's degree, and an MBA, obviously. Did well in corporate America, hated engineering, moved into sales, did well at selling. And to make a long story short, around the age of 36, 37, I felt this quiet discontent that I wanted to do something else. And years before that, I had seen Zig Ziglar, the speaker, the sales motivational speaker, and that was always in the back of my mind. And so, if you're listening to this, some of you have that quiet discontent. That's what I call it, the quiet discontent. It's something in your stomach that just like, man, I'm not on purpose. I'm not doing what I should be doing. I'm just, this isn't me. Now, keep in mind, I was raised on food stamps, government cheese, and powdered milk, poor, right? And so now, fast forward, I'm president of sales and marketing, and my base salary is like $250,000 plus commissions plus stock options. I'm making stacks, man. I'm making big bank. You know what I mean? But still, I wasn't happy, and I just quit. I didn't quit. I talked to my wife about it. We had a discussion. I said, I'm not feeling this anymore, and I don't want to do this anymore. And so it was a tough decision to make. Now, as you hear this, keep in mind that we also paid down all our debt. We put some money away in the bank. And so I knew that if I quit, we had at least a year or two worth of runway, if you know what I mean. And so that was it. That was really the motivation. I wanted to become a speaker. I've been pushing it off. I wanted to write books. If you're thinking of writing a book, don't think of writing a lot of books. Just think about writing that first book about something you feel passionate about. That's it. Forget about what other people are doing. And that's what I did. I wrote the first book, and it was like, I never thought I would write 13 books, Darren. So, I just started with the one, the baby step, right? Do your first book. And that's the story right there.
Oh, man. Thank you so much. Start right there. Make those baby steps. Take that first step. Hey, crawl before you walk. That whole, all those analogies or any examples I can bring up. Make sure that you do that. And I want to share the importance, too, of investing in yourself. And this is going to be a segue into something that Victor knows too well right now by the things that he's writing about with artificial intelligence. And you have to invest in yourself. For those who are in sales, whether it's in books or, relationships, whatever it may be, artificial intelligence is playing a big part in our role. And I want those who are just caught up on conspiracy theories and thinking about Russia and thinking about artificial intelligence with a CIA movie that they watch, get that out of your mind and realize how it's a part of our everyday life. And this is one of those swings in the marketplace that I feel like personally, and I let Victor share his point of view on it. I feel like if you get ahead of the curve on this can be that thing like the .com. This is the thing if you was able to be one of the first top 10 in Google or whatnot. If you get ahead of everybody else in the marketplace, I think you have a place to run. Just like some others that we know in professional development who went on and pounded in YouTube early and got ahead. And some are being late comers, but it's still working for them somewhat. But sometimes it pays to be first in the industry doing these things, these trends. So Victor, on that note, could you share with the audience the importance of artificial intelligence and what you're talking about in your newest publication?
Okay, so two parts to that. The first one is I want to address the part about learning, and keeping up to date and really, adding to your database. Now, again, here's the problem. A lot of people don't read. I think the number's like only 7 or 8% of the population actually read one book a year. Now, Darren, just stop and pause on that for a second. 7 to 8%. Heck, let's call it 10%. Let's be generous. 10% of the population only reads one book a year. And here's the visual I want to leave with people. I want you to think of information as furniture. Information is furniture. And so in everybody's head, there's furniture, right? Pieces of information, furniture. And if you're not learning, all you're doing is moving around the furniture. That's all you're doing. You're not working with any new stuff. And the only way to acquire new furniture is to bring in new information. When you have new information, you have new ideas, new thought process, and new ways of looking at the world. And so my challenge to anybody listening to this is that you should be reading at least one book a month. I don't care if it's a short book, long book, you should be reading one book a month. And I think as you gain information over the years, you will feel that growth. When I talked earlier about I didn't have a great vocabulary, I was that guy when I first started reading, I'll call it the high-level books, Darren. I was underlying a bunch of words or circling. I don't know what that means. You know what I mean? There are words I just didn't understand, and I would have to write in the book, what that meant. So my first thing is to encourage people, if you want to be a writer, you just got to read. You have to read, and then you write. Read, and then put your ideas down on paper. And I'll emphasize the right part because too often the information sounds real good up here. You ever have that moment where the information sounds really good up here, but when you put it on paper, it just doesn't sound right? And I think the ability to take it from here and put it on paper is where we're challenged. But the more you do it, the more you get used to it. Now, in talking about artificial intelligence, I've been in the world of selling now and sales training for at least 10 years, just training. In the world of selling, I think I got into sales in 92, so you can count the years from there. So, so in 92, I got into sales, but for the last 10 years, I've been training on influence and persuasion, presentation, sales processes. But what's happening is, the world is changing. The fourth industrial revolution is now happening, and that is artificial intelligence. And so when I saw how it was beginning to impact the world of selling, I said, I need to dig into this because nobody else is really talking about this. And I think my book is the first book published on how AI in sales will change the world of selling. And so I don't see AI as a negative. I see it as, the gentleman from Wired magazine, his name is Kelly, I forgot his first name. He basically said that you should look at AI as electricity, as a utility. Now think about that concept. It's a very fascinating concept. Like, how you have a car, right? You add AI to the car, you got an autonomous car. You take a refrigerator, you add AI to a refrigerator, you got a refrigerator that'll talk to you. And if you think about it, we're now taking the phone and we had an AI. It's called Alexa or Siri. Take your pick, it's AI. And so it's going to be like electricity. It's a utility. It's going to be everywhere. Now, should we be afraid of it? No, it's just going to change the game a little bit. But, not all jobs will be eliminated. And I talk about this in the book that you should look at what tasks are repetitive and those tasks will be eliminated. So will we have to up our game? Of course. But, again, if you're not reading, you're not staying up to date, you're going to be left behind.
And left behind, we have a concept with our company, no book left behind. And, no book left behind. That's the concept that we have, and that's what we live by. And so I just want to talk to the audience out there. Make sure that you understand the importance of learning. I shared in a post that I did earlier today, as we were beginning to even do this interview, of the importance of investing. I wouldn't have never known when I did the virtual sales training that, hey, I would be able to meet Victor at an event. And I had an event planned, and I was there for another event, and that was an investment for going there. And I just wanted to just be transparent. I had all kind of hell breaking loose at my office. I was trying to put out fires over there. I was traveling, and at the airport at DFW. They stopped it because we had a thunderstorm or something, so I couldn't get out towards that. I was out in schedule. And so I'm thinking about all this as I came into New Orleans. And then I said, hey, I'm just going to focus on the positive, do the things that I control, the controllables, the whole nine. But I realized the importance of getting around the right people, of the right knowledge by the things that I had read. By having a training that Victor and his company put out on the virtual sales training platform, it allowed for me to know how to work with a team and put out those fires and handle that situation. Now I see him, and then I was able to just share it with him and talk to him and just give him props like, hey, man, thank you. And I want you all to understand the importance of that. I didn't get caught up in, I don't want to, no, I just like, hey, I just want to tell you, I'm not asking anything of you. I just want to tell you, you got some great content, man. I research and study a lot of people, but I'm telling you what you have, is off the chain. So I know that's not a proper, excuse my southern vernacular right there, but that's off the chain. I'm thinking,
works for me, man. Works for me. Works for me.
I'm thinking, it's off the chain, and I'm thinking to myself, like, man. And I was able to talk to him and connect. And here we're on this interview, but it's about learning and making the changes. So for those of you,
hey, Darren, if I just want to put a fine point on what you just, basically just went through that whole story, because I want people to realize what you did, man, and what's applaudable in that. And that is, you went online. Somehow you found me. You invested in my sales mastery platform, right? You learned and applied it to your business, right? You went to an event called NSN. And who happens to be walking through the lobby? Me. You come up to me and said, hey, what's up? And I'm like, who are you, right? And from there, you reconnected after the event, took a great picture, we reconnected, and now we're doing this webinar together, and we're sharing more information. But think about the arc of that if you had not taken a moment to just say, you know what, I'm going to invest in myself, spend a little bit of money. But then you said, I'm going to go to this event, not knowing you would meet me there face to face, right? We had no meeting. We just ran into each other in the lobby. Opportunity was there. You took it. Now we're doing this. This is what people don't get there sometimes. It's that you got to throw yourself out there. You got to spend a little bit of money, because the unintended consequences of what happened and what is happening right now is really cool, right? It really is, if you think about it.
Yeah. And, if you don't get that, you're hindering yourself from going to the next level. And there was another speaker there who understood and shared about the importance of the shark and, the sucker fish, I believe it was.
My man, Walter Bond, man. Walter Bond.
Yeah, Walter Bond.
It was the shark,
the sucker fish,
and the parasite.
The parasite. And that's the thing about it. It's just, you reaching out and understanding, hey, don't get caught up in ego and trying to be macho and then think that you can apply to someone, and then showing respect and love with others. Like, I'm on there saying, like, hey, go follow Victor Antonio. I mean, his program, it's not me just being selfish. It's like, hey, I want everybody else to know that it can help them as well. So when you have that servant leadership and want to help others, it open up doors. Like I'm thinking about with AI, going back to the book, Victor is sharing this with us. He could say, hey, I'm just going to hoard all this information and use it for myself. But he's saying, hey, so for those out there, go get the book. Make sure that you reach out to Victor, somebody in his staff, go on Amazon, whatever you need to do to get this book. And I just want to ask you this, Victor, with you putting out the book, what have been some of the benefits of you being an author, whether it be how your family view you by being an author, what opportunities have it given you for a speaking engagement or open doors for you to be able to close deals? Could you share that with the audience of some of the benefits that you've had by being a published author?
Okay, so let me be selfish for a second. I think every speaker or author should be selfish for a second. You should write for what it's going to do for you. Let's begin there. And what it did for me, it helped clarify my thoughts. And let me put down on paper what I've been thinking about for a long time. So you know how I think it's Les Brown that says you got to empty yourself so you can fill yourself up again with new material, right? So writing the book was like emptying myself so I can let new material, new furniture in my house. And so that was the first benefit. When I wrote the first book, it didn't sell a lot. I don't sell a lot of books. You're not going to make your money. And this is my perspective. You're not going to make your money off the books. What you're going to make your money off of is the credibility that the book lends to you. So if you want to be a speaker or a trainer, there's no better business card than having somebody your book. You know what I mean? Especially in the market niche that you're going after. So obviously my two key words as far as market focus is always about sales and motivation. Those are my two key words. And so my books are always about sales or motivation or a combination thereof. And so that positions me in the market as an expert in sales and motivation. So what am I saying to those listening? That if you want to write a book, make sure it has a focus so you can go after a specific market. And so how does that benefit you? When people begin to see you as a speaker, they look at your webpage, they look at your content, then they look at your book. So, well, this person wrote a book. They look at your videos, they look at your blog. All this begins to add up to, you know what? I think I need to reach out to this person and see if we can bring them into our company so we can hire them. And so, since 2008, when I just focused on sales, I mean, my speaking career has just shot up. And so, as you say, I get paid big bank, man, and it really is straight off the chain, man. It's like, I'm doing well. I'm loving it. I'm loving life. And so if you want to be a speaker, again, consider writing a book. I think you need to write a book today if you want to be a speaker, but don't write the book with the expectations like, I'm tired of all these people saying, New York bestseller, whatever. I mean, all this stuff is just garbage. What really matters is that you wrote the book, you position yourself as an expert in the market, and now you can leverage that book to get real business in the real world, maybe even online.
Hey, Victor, well said, kudos. I wish, man, I could give you applause right now and stand up, but hey, we'll do the best by just telling you thank you for that, because I want those who out there listening. I just had a conversation before we did this interview with a client. It's not about that. If you think that you're going to have your feet in the sand in Cabo, sipping on Modelo or some Coronas and think that a royalty check is going to show up and take care of you for the rest of your life, you're sadly mistaken, my friend. And so I want you to understand the importance of the OC. I'm not talking about Orange County, California. I'm talking about the opportunity cost. And by you not doing what you're supposed to do, by having that great business card, by having a book and showing that you're an expert, you're forfeiting fortunes of opportunity, whether that's given to a nonprofit, you and your family, legacy, and the list goes on. And let's not forget the impact of those who are reading your materials. And just think about it, if Victor would have been selfish with not creating the virtual sales platform that I was able to participate in. Here I am from a guy from Texas, got a Southern drawl like Tim McGraw. And here I am benefiting from this gentleman or whatnot who was on food stamps from Puerto Rico. I mean, this is the amazing time that we're living in right now. And I want you to take full advantage of that. So that's why we have the author spotlight, so you can get the truth about what these authors do, but in the present sense, and also behind the scenes as well. But Victor, if you don't mind, could you share information with our audience if someone want to book you to speak, if someone want to join the virtual sales training that you have, all that, how they can follow you? Just give us D, all the above, like the old multiple choice test, D, all the above.
All right. So let me I want to tag off what you said, because what you said was something important. Once you write the book, like, for example, that I have the Sales Mastery platform, right? Which is basically virtual sales training courses online. And so I make money off of that. If you don't mind me speaking plainly, do you? I make money off of that. And so people who write a book can then take that book and convert it into a video series. Now they're selling the book and the video series, and they can put that online and sell it online. That becomes passive income. So, I've combined both. So if you go to my Sales Mastery Academy, so it's salesmasteryacademy.us, salesmasteryacademy.us, you can buy the platform, all the videos on the platform, right? It's a subscription now, but you can also download the books that come with it. So, you actually, so, if you're writing a book, remember that book that you've just written is the book itself. But then that book could become, let's say, 10 to 15, maybe 20 articles. Those 10 to 15, 20 articles could become maybe 10 to 15 videos. So this is all marketing content. So whether you choose to sell it or give it away for free, you can repurpose this material and put yourself on YouTube. Right now we're almost at about 140,000 subscribers on YouTube. Why? Because people love the content I deliver online. And I give a lot of it away for free. But if you want the high-level stuff, that's where the platform kicks in. So keep that in mind, that your book drives articles, drives blogs, drives videos, may even drive podcasts. Yes. So even that can be leveraged. So one book has this ripple effect that, if you use it correctly, can help you not only position yourself in the market, but get booked.
Thanks so much, Victor, for sharing that. Hey, you know what? And just to add on that, I just want to piggyback real quick. Just like this interview right now, I started with one book. I'm a 6-time author now, but the one book led into the publishing company, which led into more speaking engagements because you're an expert in the area, which led into more clients because you're the expert in the field. One started off with one podcast, took it up, 10x this some, got 3 podcasts per week that we have, and we have guests across the world. And now what the thing is, Victor, just learning some stuff from you with the repurposing, what I understood is, okay, I can bring guests on, but guess what happens when we bring the guests on? The secret to the sauce of with us being real is we close a lot of the guests who didn't even use us the first time for the publishing. Now, when they do their second book or fifth or 10th book, they use our services because who would want a platform? So if I cold called you, that's one thing. But when I ask you to come on the show, hey, that's prompting me up. That's telling people how
By
I
the way, let's put an emphasis on that, because that is a brilliant strategy that a lot of people use, and apparently you figured it out. That one way to not cold call or chase business is really target people who you want to do business with and maybe interview them. And if the relationship is there where you can do a book deal in this case, then great. If not, that's okay too. The worst you'll walk away with is great content for your website that you can repurpose.
Man, that's it. That's it. Well, you heard from the man, Victor Antonio, today. I thank you for your time, Victor. One last question before we get out of here. That individual out there right now who listening, hey, I don't have the background. I don't have the degree like Victor has. I don't have the company. I don't have the life, but I want to put a book out. But I don't know. It's so many people putting books out. I don't see the importance of me putting a book out. Will it really help my life? Could you share with them the importance of still sharing their story, regardless if they're Carlos Slim, regardless if they're Oprah Winfrey, regardless if they're Steve Harvey, they still have a story. Could you speak to that person before we get out of here, Victor?
All right. So here's the big mental block. The average millionaire in the U.S. doesn't have a college degree. That's what I said. The majority of millionaires today do not have a college degree. In fact, they have a C average. So let's put those two together. They're C average students and they don't have a college degree. So if you don't think you're in a position to write something, well, you're lying to yourself, because some people say, well, I don't have a college degree, therefore I can't write. If you're saying that to yourself, shut up. You're knocking yourself out of the park for no reason, right? So number two, once you figure out what it is you're passionate about, then what you do is, I'm going to say, take 6 months to really study everything that has to do with that subject. Read every book. And don't tell me you can't afford the book, okay? Here's why. You can go on Amazon and buy a used book for like $2 or $3. I'm sorry, but you can afford the book, right? If not, go to the library. But you got Amazon, you can buy the used books. So if you dedicated yourself to reading on a particular topic for the next 6 months, you in 6 months can figure out pretty much how this works, whatever your field of expertise is. Now, again, pick something that you're passionate about that really lines up with your core value and your experience. There's always something that you can offer to the public. So again, too often, it's the start that stops us. We've always heard that, right? It's the start that stops us. Most of us just don't want to know how to start. Step number one, figure out your focus. Step number two, for the next 6 months, just read a book every day. Step number three, when you figure the material out, here's what I do to write. This is my secret to writing. I get up early because I figured out everybody listening to this has 2 golden hours. So when the focus is there, when the material can really just come in, you have 2 hours. I know you do. Now, my 2 hours are early in the morning. Man, somewhere between like 5:30 and 7:30, this brain is like jacked up for absorption, right? So what I do is I get up at 5. By 5:30, believe it or not, I'm at Starbucks, right? So here's the trick to my writing. I sit down. I got a 2-hour chill mix. I'm going to explain why this is important. I got a 2-hour chill mix. And basically, it's instrumental for 2 hours, but really groovy music. It's got a little beat to it. For 2 hours, that thing is spinning in my head. I play that, and I know when the song's done, I'm done. My 2 hours are done. Now, you're saying, well, I don't know if I can do 2 hours. I'm not asking you to do 2 hours. Do half an hour. Do 20 minutes. Do 30 minutes. Do something. But here's what happens. The next time you sit down, the second time you sit down, don't choose a different song. You choose the same song. You always leave the same song on. Here's the secret. I'm about to share some secrets here, Darren. This is the biggest one.
Come on now.
When you play a song over and over again, and that's the song that you used to write, what it does, it basically puts you in a trance because you hear the song, but you're not listening to it. I don't know if that makes sense.
I know exactly what you mean.
It puts you in a trance. So I use the same song. So when I decided to write a book, I pick a 2-hour mix, and that 2-hour mix, I listen to it for at least 2 to 3 months until I finish that book. And it's amazing because now when I hear that music, it just puts me in a writing space. So find your 2 hours, find your time frame, find some music to go with it, put yourself in a trance, and just write. And when you write, don't write to impress, write to just get it out. And then we'll worry about the editing later. Because too often I've written something down saying, that's garbage. And then I come back like 2 weeks later and go, that's pretty good. But again, sometimes we psych ourselves out. So anyway, that's my approach to writing. I hope you guys can use it. So don't hold yourself back.
Oh, man, no doubt, no doubt. Hey, Victor, thank you so much. I appreciate your time for coming out. I really, really appreciate it. I'm humbled by it. Thank you. Make sure y'all take advantage of the platform he has. Pick up all his content. Get him in to speak for your organization, for those corporate leaders who are listening in for this one as well. And also remember this, that you all are the real MVPs. I want to have you sitting across from me just like Victor is, celebrating you for all the success that you've done by writing the books and creating multiple streams of income and impact by the products and services that you create. Until next time, remember that this is the year for your new book, and be blessed and be great.